streaming now. Abdul Wajid can join us in the chat. Tell him to join us in the chat. Are the cameras on? Yes, they are. We are live now. Audio is a bit low. Our audio is low now. Seriously? I think so. Feels like. Let me just check on the.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Maybe it's just my mic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, there you go. It is loud enough. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Whoever's here. I think Abdul Wajid is joining us in the chat. We have been at this trying to get him on Zoom. We could get the video on Zoom, but we couldn't get the audio working. So I don't know what the problem was. One of those technical difficulties. Since we are aspiring IT professionals, we were useless in our tech support. Mashallah, how's your week been?
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
So Irfan's usually behind the scenes, but because Abdul Wajid's away, and Abdul Wajid's supposed to be on Zoom,
yeah.
and we're trying to get that up and working, but couldn't get it done, as we said. So busy week.
Yes, alhamdulillah, it's been a busy week. Yeah, at work we are getting into automation.
What do you mean automation?
So robots.
Oh, really? They're taking your jobs.
Yeah.
You're training your machine. You're training the machine to take your job.
Yeah.
So it's no longer the migrants taking the jobs. It's no longer the jobs are going overseas.
Yeah.
Robots are going to do the jobs.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. That's the future, I guess. So I was listening the other day to a podcast that talking about that exact thing, and we are about to find out if this goes very quickly. How are you going to stop this? You can't stop it.
You can't stop it because I was discussing this with my immediate manager,
Mm.
and he was like, with increasing labor, with
Yeah.
increasing labor costs that are coming,
Yeah.
like right now the minimum wage is going to $24.
Mm.
So it's easier for these guys to buy a machine and get it paid back in 2 years, 3 years.
And it doesn't get sick, and it doesn't break down, but it can work 24 hours probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's not tied with this labor increases every year, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, anything there's a repetitive task in it, now it's gradually
yes,
it's moving. There's like some organizations that are already 60% of their work has been replaced by AI as well.
yes.
So anything with a repetitive task, and so there's like law AI. So you need legal advice. You can put a case in. At the moment, so I'm back in the job market looking for jobs and whatnot. It's a funny situation to be in, but it's good. Like I'm enjoying it in a way, but it's like it's so different, but it's also very similar. And the BS is still there.
Yeah.
So like, in your resumes and cover letters and so forth. So, I mean, you got to, for each job, you have to modify it and use the keywords because they're also putting it through an AI. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, when you have an interview, then you have to explain yourself.
Yes.
So if you're going for a specific role, then you have to showcase your work or
Skills,
portfolio. And then you have to actually explain, if you can explain if it's a technical job,
yes.
then you can actually explain your way through procedures and steps.
Nowadays you have 3 interviews. So you go through normal interview and then you get tech interview.
Okay, yep.
And then you go through the final HR, the human resource.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but the tech interview it's a second stage nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, then that susses out whether you can actually do the job or not.
Yes.
So you maybe get past the first phase, and then the second one, that'll probably catch you whether you can actually do this job or not.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, but like the interviews, like making the resumes, so much information on LinkedIn and all that. So it's just too much overkill. I was reading something funny today.
Everything is on AI,
Sorry?
Everything is on ChatGPT and AI.
Yeah. I was just reading something today, like about, the advices are like they're overkill,
Mm.
So there's a comparison someone did to an actual job hunting and what reality is like. So you go have a cry a little bit. um, I'll just see if I can find it. It was a good.
I don't know, but I've seen some posts. They score their resumes 80s, 95.
Are the
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, there's scores to these resumes.
courses on
Scores.
scores on how good your
Resume.
resume? Yeah, that's weird. But I guess like they're putting it through a system, so you want to make sure you've done it properly. I guess so. Yeah, yeah. But I just saw some before. It's disappeared now. Made me laugh a little bit, but it was just the actual interview is like, yeah, I do a bit of job hunting, send a few resumes, sleep a little bit, play a few video games, and then do it again, repeat, and keep doing that the whole day. And it's more like you send like 100 resumes, and then you go cry a little bit, existential like issues and so forth, and then you repeat like it's like the misery of job hunting. So, but anyway, it can be enjoyable as well, I guess. There's opportunities. I think one of the tricks, not tricks, I wouldn't say tricks, but more in the job finding sort of pathway, I've done it before as well, is to find a job, especially if you don't have experience in the job, is to find a job adjacent to that job. So you find it adjacent, and then you make opening doors.
Yes, opening doors.
So you don't start like where you think, but basically next to it, and then find your way to that. You might have a current job in which there might be a department which has that opportunity, and then you kind of leverage that and get advice from those people of that area and sort of learn from them. Most people, if you sort of want to learn their job or their skill set, they like dishing out advice. So most people, human beings, like to give advice, and so in a way you kind of use that and you learn about that specific department or develop and what's in and out, and train yourself within your current job, or like you did. I think you were doing that, and but I was listening to this one lawyer. Well, she's a lawyer, but she went into IT. Because she wanted to work remote and she hated the current job. So the way she did, she just spoke to the IT department. But that's a luxury. Like not everyone has that luxury to speak to a current department. But you can try to get a job that may be lower level, but next to that, so you can learn about that field and maybe get promoted to that. So anyway, these are the things. I did that like 24 years ago now. I worked in sales and in the call center, and then like I made my way into the IT department.
Oh, that's good, man.
So, and then I came in from sales, and I just basically said I'll work for 1 month for free for
IT.
For work experience. I was like in my early 20s, so it was just basically to get in there, get the foot in the door. I was paying. It was my own money, like because I wasn't getting paid, but it was like an internship, so I was getting experience. And then like that, you build, connections and opportunities open up, and they see you. Oh, you guys are a hard worker, whatever, mashallah. And he's a good hard worker, and he's reliable and trustworthy, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, we can see a role for him here. He's got a great personality. All that stuff.
Mashallah.
So, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. So alhamdulillah, which is good. I'm doing the data analyst course, the IBM one, which is good. I'm enjoying that. It's a lot of revision stuff that
You've done before.
And now it's easier. It's so much easier. Like all the stuff, 25 years is a long time in IT, I guess. So Python, like I actually learned this week. Yeah. Like when I say learned, because we did C++ and other programming languages. Before. Now, like Python's like is a piece of cake.
Yes.
It's actually I'm passing all the tests. The problem is I don't know what I'm doing, but the language is so logical.
Yes.
It's like so easy in one sense. It's just intuitive.
Yes.
But I don't know what I'm doing exactly 100%, but I get the answers right because it's multiple choice and just by process of elimination. But I don't think that's a good idea so even though I've done like a few of the courses, I'm going to do, before I do the project, there's like a big project to do. So before I do the project like this, and that helps you with your portfolio. So before I do that, then I'll, but it's good revision. Like it's actually, I'm enjoying it. and statistics, studying statistics for it as well.
That's good.
Yeah, Stanford University course. It's done half of it now, but there's so many YouTube videos. For like explanations, stuff from like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Really bad YouTube videos, quality. Like when people started to actually do like videos on teaching things, like to explain things. So it's really, like really good stuff, like really good explanations, like really good teachers out there. So
yes, there's so much material out there right now.
like even Python, like beginners Python, there's people got free courses, 11 hours, 15 hours. Like a guy did like 11-hour stream, a live stream where he's explaining Python, teaching from beginning till, you could say intermediate level almost, or maybe advanced level, some things, within 11 hours of continuous teaching. That's crazy. Like some people like just got stamina to keep going on a stream, you know, like, and that's, and it's like it's available for free. And you can, I mean, obviously there's advertisements and whatnot. But like brilliant stuff out there. And of course the official certifications are good. They keep adjusting them, and you can see that they've been edited so many times by so many people. Even the current videos, you see like the voice change in the middle, because they've adjusted it, they've corrected it or updated it or improved it. But yeah, they're good. Like the Coursera courses are really good. Like the
Coursera, the Google thing.
Google, and I did the Google project management, and then I did I'm doing the IBM one as well. And I did some other softwares as well. But it's just good to refresh all that stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but if you've done C++, Python is piece of cake.
Yeah. But it's been so long, so it's like relearning again. But it's, you know, the weird things, I think it's like it's coming back. That's the weird thing. It's all coming back because I didn't touch it for so long. Then,
How do you find it? I mean, it's when I got into data analytics, I found it the most interesting part was how you can tell a story with data. You know. Yeah,
you do the visualization or the
storytelling
dashboards, and then after you tell the story. The storytelling part, I think, is the easy part.
Yeah, but the cleaning, the ETL part of it, you know, extracting and then transforming and then loading it. That's the dirty.
That's the first part is, I think, the technical thing, and then at the end the storytelling is the easy part.
Yeah, storytelling.
Once you visualize, you have a story already. But so visualization means basically you take data like spreadsheets, like very big spreadsheets we're talking about, like could be thousands and thousands of lines, tens of thousands of lines, and then you take that those lines of data, like files, so thousands of lines, tens of thousands of lines, and then you take that and someone's on, they're asking questions, we'll get to in a sec. Tens of thousands of lines, and then you process it, clean it, process it, put it into charts, tables, and so forth, into meaningful data that's useful to the business or whoever, the organization, into what's called a dashboard, right, or reports. And then from that you explain, like, okay, here's this, and these are the trends, these are the things that are happening. We can notice that this department is like actually losing, this product's losing money, so it's not worthwhile. The return on investment is not, those sort of things. You tell a story. Exactly. So what we should do is, but this doesn't tell the complete story, because if you look over here, these are the benefits that we're also getting from this. So there's it's the complexity of explaining what's in the data, like not just ups and downs, but there's a complexity to it. So multiple chart and so forth. Somebody asked a question. Rumi asked the question. Also, how has AI impacted the Islamic scholarship world, and will division in our communities be less if AI can tell us?
It's like AI can tell us when the moon comes.
Wa alaikum salam, Rumi. And AI, like, I think at the moment it's a bit overrated as far as I'm concerned. Like I did the IBM's AI course as well. I've got another one coming up as well. But the usages of it, I mean, we're using it already, like in so many different places. Obviously, you have to be careful with the fiqh stuff, because there is and this is, they call in AI. There's a thing called hallucinations. So hallucinations are basically that. So these are the large language models and so forth. So we're using ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok and all these ones. So
Yes.
they're using a large amount of information, and then they're kind of like doing their own
Training,
sort of
yeah,
amalgamating data and coming up with a maybe unique answer. The problem with that is they have hallucination. Now, hallucinations, like at the moment, the guy from Oracle, I saw his interview, said, look, we're getting 90 to 94% accuracy,
Yes.
which is extremely high.
Yes.
However, when it comes to deen, 4% accuracy is not like probably good enough. Because that could be like 95% something's haram, but actually could be halal. And you're like, you don't want to be taking that response. You can't hand that over to the machine. I guess books are kind of like a recording of, so if you look at just fiqh, like do's and don'ts, let's not complicate it. So do's and don'ts. So if the question is simple, right, then the answer should be there in the book already and there. But when it becomes, with too many parameters, then you need the oversight of a mujtahid and alim and so faqih, and he might tie in other. And can that be automated? Maybe. If it's purely an intellectual process, like maybe, yeah. Like I think to a certain degree, yes. I think it is useful. Like if you're doing online translations, like of a book, Islamic book, Google Translation is not that bad. It's pretty good, but of course you need a human oversight to make sure that the masail and issues and hadith and whatnot are translated properly. But it saves you time. I think that's where AI is in. It won't replace people. It won't replace fuqaha and ulama, but it will. Replace a lot of tasks. So before you have an alim who have a team of people who do translation, then the alim will collect it. Like I'm talking the current era. This famous alim. He used to have a team of ulama translate. His name was the one on it, but he hired these other ones that used to translate. So then what would happen is like that job could be done now by a thing, and then he could just proofread it, check, make sure everything's proper against the original sort of thing. So, so when it comes to Islamic scholarship, I don't think it's already being used. We had a session with from Al-Balagh Academy, Mufti Abrar, for the teachers, explaining like how to make use of it to make your job efficient, right? Because we're teaching online and we're teaching, so they're just bringing the teachers up to speed, ulama, and because how to use it. But the problem is you have to be careful that you have to check it. It's actually very impressive. You can throw a lot of disparate things. I'm not going to explain what the issue was, but I put an issue, then I checked it. Then I went back and checked it in books. I was actually impressed at how it came to an answer. And I haven't read that answer anyway, directly. It came up with a unique answer that answered my question. And the question was of a spiritual nature. It wasn't even like a fiqh issue. And I was actually shocked at how well it explained things, elaborated things.
Wow.
So, and then like, of course, then you trace it back and try to go back to how these things were actually provided an answer. It solved like an issue that was bugging me for a few weeks. But then I tried to trace it back. I couldn't pinpoint exactly where it was from. But the answer, I would not say it's wrong. It made total sense. It was very logical. But so I think like we do have to check it and go through that process. I think that's what's been happening in every science that they're using it, that they don't fully believe that it's accurate.
So also for fiqh masala, so you can...
This wasn't a fiqh. This was more complicated than fiqh masala.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, it was more of a spiritual nature. And I was actually shocked at how well it can tap into Islamic resources and information that's available online in English. Obviously, it's relying on English language information. And obviously, a lot has been written. So there's a lot written in academia and things that most people don't read. So it probably taps into all of that as well, which I was impressed. I was actually shocked at how well. I mean, I put the thesis that I published last month, a month or so ago, and I put it into was it Notebook AI? Not Notebook.
Yes.
That's
I think.
Whatever. Yeah. What's it called?
It's a Google thing, right?
Yeah, Notebook LM, right?
LM, sorry. Yeah.
So it's a Google thing, yeah. So I put my resume in. So sorry, I put my thesis in, and then I asked it to create a podcast.
Oh, mashallah.
And it created like a 20-minute so you put a 8,000 word essay in, and then you have this man and woman discussing. It's a podcast. it generated discussing the on Islamic family law.
Oh, mashallah.
Right, and for 20 minutes, they're talking about it, and there's back and forth, and looking at all the angles, and it was fascinating. Even I put my resume in because I got a sort of eclectic, sort of mixed, strange resume. Madrasa teacher, imam, sales rep. It's like it's done everything. So alhamdulillah. But so I put that in there, and then they did like a 5-minute discussion talking about. So then what you can do is it's a human voice, like they're talking. They can actually interview for your job, so for a specific role. And that was another one with the notebook LM. You put in your resume, and you put in the role that you want, the job. Please write me a cover letter.
And it does.
So from your resume, it will write you from your resume, and from the job, like the website, you give the website or download the PDF of the job if that's available. You just chuck it in there and generates a letter for you. Not very good. I wouldn't say it's fantastic. You have to go through it, edit it, but it kind of gives you a good structure to work with.
Yeah.
So I found that very. It's so I think like in life we're going to be using it a lot. Like I think it's very useful.
That's the future.
Like I had a dream many years ago, and I wanted to generate it. It was an interesting dream. It was like somewhere in Pakistan there was like a mountain of marble, and this a marble city under a mountain, and so but I've never seen a picture of that. So it looked like Taj Mahal type buildings, but like very extensive, but underground in caves. So then I asked ChatGPT, like generator or whatever it was, that the llama one. I said generate an image of this, and it kept on going until it got to like 80-90% of what I saw in the dream.
Wow.
So then I can explain, I had a dream about this. We send it to somebody because I had a dream about this. What does it mean, sort of thing. So it is interesting. Like it is definitely will change. But as for so that's so you asked about the impact. Yeah, it will impact will impact all other roles. That'll be a tool, additional tool. Like we're using PowerPoint, we're using tools to present, like do an Islamic lecture, or some other, or using microphone, or using internet, or whatever it is. So it'll be an additional tool, but it has to be accurate. It can't be inaccurate.
Yes.
It can't make up a new deen or a new fiqh or new madhab or something like that. That's already established. So it has to work in the parameters of that. So you're asking very deep questions, Rumi, and very disparate questions, but it's good. That's the other question was, how do you view the future of the madrasa system and their curriculums? I think that like schools, do we need schools? We need madrasas and we need ulama. They have to be trained.
Yes.
Right? Like with any, do we need doctors? Yeah. And is their syllabus going to be cut down? No, probably made more extensive. It just, the training has to be adjusted for the time, but that's automatic. But there's going to be like a core set of skills.
Yeah. Using the tools that are present at that time.
For example, they'll still have to understand the whole human body, the physiology.
Yes.
That's not going to change because human beings are not going to change.
Yes.
In the near future, it's going to be same. They're going to eat the same way and drink. You're going to anatomically and biology is going to be pretty much the same. There'll be things that people will do, but overall, the human being still be a human being. And therefore, the doctors will probably have to study all the same stuff, but they might understand better. They might have more information about the medicines. They might have more tools at their disposal, as you mentioned. Similarly with alims, he will have to work in the time that he lives in. So, for example, like one area ulama had to learn and still have to learn is just like finance. In the modern financial system, they have to learn it to help the Muslims navigate the modernity and how to live in a halal way. So madrasas or ulama, let's not call them madrasas, but producing ulama who learn the knowledge and have taqwa, I don't think that's going anywhere. People might not have the need for it or feel the need for it, or maybe it'll be hard to bring. I felt like in the last few years that serious students are getting less and less.
Yes. I think the essence of that, I don't know, but what I always have that the essence of that, initially the person who went to study wanted the sohbah of the alim, the teacher he wanted to be with. I think that has gone from the society.
Yeah, and commitment is not there to just sit there.
Yeah.
Maybe in poorer places in the world, they have that. Like they'll still have that respect and having a connection. Yeah. So the problem now is, the Dunning-Kruger effect.
No.
Like, and this is the problem that will happen with ilm if you don't produce like solid ulama and intelligent people are not investing in ilm. So you'll have is a cognitive bias where individuals with low ability in a specific area overestimate their skills and knowledge. This occurs because they lack the awareness to accurately assess their own competence compared to others. So this effect is like the person who knows a little, like of deen or ilm, feels that they know a lot. And you feel like in ilm, out of all the things, medicine and this one, like everyone is a doctor and everyone is like alim or mufti, right? Even though they're not qualified to be either. And they're giving their free advice, uncalled for advice. So they'll be talking about matters of deen without understanding. And you see this in Hajj and you see in situations close up when you travel with people. They're just answering incorrectly to people. Like they're just, because they're getting a bit from here, a bit from there. So unfortunately, people feel like because they watch YouTube or they watch TVs or sheikhs on TVs, they might get certain masail, they might have memorized it correctly, but then they might not be able to apply even that masala in the specific case appropriately. Because they don't know the weight and the condition of that individual person. So they say, that's okay. Or that's, you don't have to do that. Or like that. But then they misapplying the case. So I guess like, with medicine, is AI and all these things are helpful, but you always go to a doctor to get a real diagnosis.
Yes.
Yeah. So with madrasas, like you still need a doctor. See hence where there's a madrasa system, but you need to produce ulama somehow. And the ulama have to be resembling the ulama of the last generation, but dealing with the contemporary issues. I think that's a given. There's a question. Had a foreign policy, mate. We're going around it's above our pay grade. In Afghanistan, the current government follow Deoband and is there Sufi elements? Yeah, they are. Like they're Deobandis. So Deobandis Deoband in the sense of and there's what did that mean by that? Yeah, like tasawwuf is a branch of deen. Whether you call it tasawwuf, tazkiyah. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, I don't care if you call it Sufi or not, as long as you have taqwa. You can call a businessman, you can call be a farmer. So if Sufi is meant by, depends on what you mean by it. Like the words Sufi is like, and it's kind of like a dirty word for some people because there are those who claim to be Sufis, they do weird things or un-Islamic things even as well. So the word, there's one Sufi, this could be an alim, a person of taqwa, and he's focused on internal purification and he does exercises for the same for that, right? Under the guidance of a mentor who's trained and so forth to walk the spiritual path. And you see that in the books of Ibn Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah as well, who the people that are criticized the Tasawwuf, right? But then there are majority of the Sufis in the world, unfortunately, like there's a lot of bid'at innovations, and weirdness around it, so, and weirdness, I say like actually wrong things in the name of the soul. So there's the Tasawwuf and there's the Tasawwuf, there's not every. So I like Dhunun Misri, a very early Imam of the Tasawwuf. He was the first person that went to Egypt, was called a Sufi. Someone asked him, what is a Sufi? And he says, when he speaks, the realities become clear. إذا نطق أبان الحقائق وإذا سكت نطقت الجوار. You understood that? ونطق الجوار عن ترك العلائق. Because when he speaks, the realities become clear. When he remains silent, his limbs speak, meaning his actions, of his disconnection with everyone other except for with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if that's what a Sufi is, then there's nothing wrong with that. If some exercises are there and they're not saying it's part of the Sharia itself, right? Similar to like a Quran teacher, he's got the student saying ab until he gets a qalqala, right? Like the bounce at the end of ba with a sukoon. As an exercise, there's no dalil for that. But it's a point, it's an exercise the teacher's getting him to to get the qalqala, etc. So that exercise can't be called wrong because there's no hadith for that. It's to get, the point of it is it's a means to an end. So if that's treated like that, like one of the, I was reading one book in one sheikh, when he's an alim, was teaching, like he's in his 50s or something. He went to a sheikh of like tasawwuf, right? A Sufi. He said, I want to become your disciple. And he said, he asked him the question, he goes, do you have ihsan in your salat? Like, do you worship Allah as though you see him, or at least feel, as a hadith, famous hadith, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu, hadith Jibreel. He said, do you worship Allah as though you see him, or at least feel that Allah sees you? And so he said, yes, right? So, he has to be honest, right? He said, yes. And he said, then you don't need this, what I have. Like, you don't need to come to me and you already got like the point of it. Like, you're already at the end, you already got this thing. You don't need like extra someone to guide you, to mentor you to this. You're already at the end already. You got the goal. So it depends on what you mean by it. Like if it means like doing a certain dance or whatever, then yeah, of course, like I don't think that's what they're about. So, and I don't think every one of them is like, like Sufi. Like, what does it mean? Like, who are you specifically talking about? What specific actions, right? So it's, you have to judge, I would advise not to judge whole movements based on hearsay. You have to ask, and the problem with movements or large group of people, when you go to get data on large group of people, you get a database on every member of that organization. So for everybody is different, and everybody. So then you realize, not everyone is the same on the same page, even though they might be in the same movement, right? You just go to the local masjid, people who pray in the same village. Let's not forget about Australia, because we come from so many different countries. You go to Indonesia, in some village, and everybody's like a rice farmer, let's say, in some part of Indonesia. And everybody's sort of like roughly the same, but they're not the same. Their taqwa, people's taqwa, they've had the same life experiences and so forth, but then some people's taqwa would be more, and someone's fear of Allah would be more, and someone's knowledge might be more. So even within the same community that's very similar, there are differences. So I think like judging them, I think, alhamdulillah, Allah's brought peace to that part of the world. I think that people deserve that there, and Allah make it easy for them, and make ease and remove the financial restrictions that are there still on them, economic restrictions on them. So Allah provide for them from His unseen treasures. That which is done in the name of the deen, then we have to make dua that Allah succeeds, and it's the ummah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore, we have to make dua like we make dua for ourselves. They're all our brothers in Islam, inshallah ta'ala. Sometimes you disagree even with your brothers, isn't it? You still make dua.
100%.
Yeah. So therefore, what someone said that life is too short to love. Who's got time to hate?
Yes.
So we hate for the sake of Allah some things, but we have to define what that thing is. We can't just say, put a label. Even someone said something negative about Imam Suyuti rahmatullah alayh. Someone said something about Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayh, negative. And my father rahmatullah, when I asked him, he said, listen, first read these alims, all these books, 20, 30 volumes. Before you form an opinion about him, read him, understand him in his entirety. Then what that statement that he said, you can fit it amongst the rest of everything that he said. But superficially and lazily, just to take one statement and then to pass a judgment on him, like I didn't know Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah. I knew negative things about him because other people have criticized him, because you hear from good people, reliable people, generally, and then sort of you form a judgment based on hearsay without knowing anything direct facts and details. And then so when he said that negative thing, then you form like a negative, like it plants a seed of doubt against that person. Until I read, it's an English book, Durrat al-Fakhira, Abdurrahman Sa'di rahmallah, his book on, it's called Exquisite Pearl. It's about the stages of nearness to Allah. And then in that, there's a part where it mentions about Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim mentioned about his teacher Ibn Taymiyyah, that he said after Fajr, he sat till midday doing dhikr of Allah. Firstly, it's the stamina level, right? Generally, Ibn Taymiyyah will not be considered by most like as a quote unquote a Sufi. Like, I mean, he talks about a lot of Sufi stuff like in his books, volume 10 and 11, if I believe. Like it's all, my father rahmatullah said, it's all tasawwuf, like from beginning till end. I mean, he's commentating on big Sufi Salihin like Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, others, their statements, and giving commentary on it. So he wasn't a lightweight. But look at his action. He said that Ibn Qayyim said he turned around midday, from morning till like midday, he's making dhikr of Allah. And it's also impressive that Ibn Qayyim is sitting next to him.
Hmm.
Right? I don't know any Sufi that makes this much zikr in one go.
Subhanallah.
5-6 hours. Let's say it's winter, it's 5 hours, right? 6 hours. Continue dhikr. And he said after 5-6 hours, whatever dhikr, he turns around, he said, this is my like breakfast, this is my nourishment. This is where I take my strength. Get my strength from. Now, like how I'm going to criticize that guy? Or who am I to criticize him and talk about him? Just from an amal point of view. So, and if you see like even when he met Ibn Atallah Skandari, like the debates between him, like his debates, Ibn Taymiyyah's debates, if you look in Arabic, it was very interesting. When he went to Egypt and he ended up praying the same mosque as Ibn Atallah, the famous Sufi, right? He wrote the Hikam, the wise aphorisms and so forth. And the way they talk to each other is very different to the Sufi Salafi debates today. So he says, like he calls him the faqih, the jurist. Ibn Atallah calls him he said, and Ibn Taymiyyah said something along the lines, there's no one in Egypt or in Sham who loves, like is known for his love of Allah like the likes of you. Right? So the way they talk about each other is very different, you know, like, so it's, I find the labels, caricatures, we have a caricature of the other. It's not a real complete picture of the other person or the group or the jama'ah or the thing. Like we have a caricature. I think if you look at an individual, past or present, and you have to look at the entirety of their work, their body of work and life. I think you have to be careful, and you should look at the good of that movement, work, the positive of it, and then like maybe form. And then when you look at the positive of it, then you will find, oh, there's a lot of positives. Even I don't have it. Or my group, if I'm in another group, my group doesn't have these good qualities, right? Like there'll be certain groups that you'll know that are very strong in their standing against zulm, very vocal, right? You'll find another group that is very, particular about being apolitical, non-political in certain situations. It requires to be not political. Like we're not just political animals, right? We're abid slaves of Allah. So they'll protect their personal deen. In certain situations, you have to do that. Like you have to protect your iman and so forth. That takes precedence. You'll find another group that is more particular. They're like, if you look enough, you'll find enough good qualities, then kind of shuts you up. Like, okay, that's enough. Like I better not talk too much. Like I better, this person or this group or this sheikh, or the past or present, I got to be careful. Yeah, definitely if there's harm coming from a group or individual that is harming deen and the Muslims, it's got to be called out then.
Yes.
It's got to be called out. There is like, if there's actual harm, so there was like in our masjid where I'm sort of teaching at the moment, like my father, rahmallah, never stopped anybody come when he's imam there, except for two. And I won't mention the names here. He said the reason why he stopped those two characters coming was that they will change our community to something worse. Right? Like they will actually corrupt the mindset of the community. One was this particular character who basically said hijab is not fard, and like that type of mentality you don't need to promote. Like that's not a tolerable difference of opinion. But he was pretty much open to anybody else, within the Ahlul Sunnah al Jamaat range. Like he was pretty much open to anybody else. And he said, because why? Because if you have an imam who's an alim already there, then he can clean up after certain things of that. But like if the community, that person's followers and so forth, he gave a lot of leeway on speakers and so forth. But he knew, like, okay, he said he was only stopped two people. And the reason was that once they take root in that community, that's going to cause chaos and split the masjid. So, and he generally had an attitude that everyone is welcome to the masjid, except for, and leave your ikhtilaf at the door.
Yes.
Yeah, hang your ikhtilaf at the door, difference opinion at the door, and come into the masjid. If you come for ibadah, the ones who come for ibadah in the house of Allah, they don't shout and then raise their voice in the masjid. Those who come with some other agenda, then, So I think like, you asked a foreign policy question, gave you so I think like passing judgment on a group or individual, I think you have to be cautious until you have the full length and breadth, and the whole length and breadth of the issue, and then you can form an opinion. But I think that's very hard by remote control from the other side of the world, without being on the ground, without understanding nuances and all that, and the benefits and so forth. I think for that part of the world, I think, alhamdulillah, there's peace there finally.
Yes,
for those people suffering. May Allah bring that in the whole ummah and protect the Muslims and their homelands and from all shar. Jazakallah khair. Call it a night, inshallah. We're in way over time. I apologize. We started very late because trying to get the audio working. It's Abdul Wajid. He's in Perth, chasing dunya, whatever he's doing. So we had to, because of that, it was delayed. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you don't do it because they do it. Inshallah, you do it because it's a means of getting close to Allah. May Allah give us tawfiq. Just answering the comment there. So, barakallah feekum. Thanks for the engagement. And inshallah, we'll be back next week. We're trying to get to the 100 and then we'll decide what to do with this podcast.
Inshallah.
I shouldn't say that, but inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good.